Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's May, no it's not, that was a complete lie. It's the 30th of April today and I am wearing a really thick, what do I call a turtleneck jumper, and I was just really hoping that I would be able to be wearing something more spring and summery and just less thick by now, but yeah, the weather today is like really windy, like gusty, and luckily I took it as annual leave so I didn't have to go out in it, but it's not nice considering last week I was out in the garden in like 25-degree heat. It's a bit sad, our summer's probably over now. Oh well, welcome to Britain. In today's video I'm going to be talking to you about my 5 top tips for bullet journal beginners. I've been meaning to do this video for quite a long time because I know that most of my subscribers are really into the bullet journal videos, and you often in the comments ask me quite a few questions or sort of make comments, feedback, and you talk to each other about sort of tips, getting started, quite a lot of tips on paper and specific pens that you use. So I thought I'd compile a video with my rounded off sort of, I could give you a million tips, but I'm going to give you my 5 biggest ones for you bullet journal users who are starting at the very beginning and you might feel a bit lost and like you don't really know where to start. So hopefully these tips will get the ball rolling and get you started with as few casualties as possible. So my first tip is, when in doubt, crack the pencils out. That is my #1 tip because pencils are literally my best friend when it comes to bullet journaling. If you have a complicated page layout in mind, or you fancy yourself a bit of an artist, or you'd like to fancy yourself a bit of an artist like me, and you want to do some doodles or something artistic on the page, I find that going straight in with the pens or the paints or the watercolours a little bit daunting, and it can actually hold you back, as well as when you make a mistake it can be really mortifying and you don't want to rip out pages or cover them up. So in my personal experience I find that going in with pencils first just is a bit of a guarantee and a bit of insurance, so that if you make a mistake you can just rub it out and it gives you the creative freedom to do your doodling without it being such a heavy commitment as using a pen or paints would be. Using pencils was actually a bit of a game changer for me, so I've now started being more creative with my bullet journal and thinking of themes for the month and doing doodles in line with those themes. And I find Pinterest is a really good tool for finding inspiration for my doodles, and now I can practice those with pencil rather than sort of getting headaches trying to map them out on pen and then messing them up, which, you know, I'm not a natural doodler, so I do make a lot of mistakes. So #2 would be to find your own style. Now, as I've just mentioned, Pinterest, I'm really guilty for scrolling through Pinterest and looking at these wonderful, immaculate bullet journal designs and thinking, why can't I do that? Maybe I should try and do it. And then for me personally, I just don't have the artistic skill to replicate what other people have done. So then I've been really disappointed in my own bullet journal. And, you know, society already is rife with comparisons, like, am I as pretty as them? My clothes aren't as good, I don't have as much money. Just don't do that with your bullet journal. It's supposed to be something fun. Don't look at someone else's bullet journal and try and compare it and try and recreate it. Your bullet journal is supposed to be your own personal space for whatever you want it to be, whether you're using it as more of a diary, as a planner, as a tracker, using it to organise your life. Whatever you're using it for, it should be your own. And that's why my second tip to you would be to find your own style. In my own experience, whenever taken someone else's bullet journal ideas, whether it be for your weekly page layout, that's a good example, I've always found that I've had to tweak it for myself, because that person who created that weekly page layout, they made it with themselves and their sort of weekly, what's the word? They've made it for themselves and their own weekly tasks and goals in mind. So if I take that from them, I've got completely different tasks and goals, completely different lifestyle to them, and so everything's out of whack. So that person might be a student, so they've obviously got a bit of timetable sort of thing going on with revision in the evening. I work full time and I relax in the evening, so straight away that's completely shifted. So if I've ever taken a sort of collection like that, I've always ended up either tweaking it or redesigning the entire thing for myself. So what I found now is I look for inspiration on Pinterest in terms of design and doodles, but when it comes to organisation and how I'm going to lay things out, I might see someone else's idea and be like, oh, that's quite good, but I would need it for this purpose, so I'll change this and this and this. So that's fine, but yeah, do make it your own, because if it doesn't work for you, then what's the point of doing it? What's the point of having a bullet journal full of these great graphs and grids that you can't really fill out because they they weren't made for you. Tip number 3 is don't overcomplicate it. You can have too much of a good thing. If you try and overcomplicate your bullet journal and put in, I don't know, say for your monthly layout, you've got about 20 pages full of trackers, weekly spreads, daily spreads, monthly trackers, daily trackers, it's gonna get overwhelming. And for me personally, I fall into the trap of putting too much in a week or a month, and then I just stop using it because I find it overwhelming. I can't keep on top of everything. So either at the end of the month I'm sort of filling bits in, guessing at what I have and haven't done for water trackers, for example, how much water I'm drinking a day. I'm kind of going, I might have had 5 glasses 3 weeks ago, I don't really remember. That kind of defeats the purpose of doing it. Why do a water tracker if it's not accurate? The whole point of it is to track your daily water. If you're guessing how much water you had that day, there's literally no point. So if, like me, you can get overwhelmed with things which makes you give up, that's me personally, then I would recommend not putting too much in your bullet journal and just trying to keep it minimalistic and achievable, because that way you'll actually be able to stay on top of it and use your bullet journal for what it was designed for. There's no point filling it up to the point where you can't even stay on top of it yourself and it becomes a stress. As I've said countless times in this video and previous videos, your bullet journal should be something to enjoy. So using trial and error, you can kind of figure out for yourself how much is enough and how much is too much, and just try and stay within those barriers so that you can use your bullet journal to its full potential and not overwhelm yourself or stress yourself out about filling it in. It's all about finding your own equilibrium. Big word, I know. My 4th tip for you is use the right tools. In my experience, and you know, I know not everyone can afford this, but if you can afford them, I would highly, highly, highly recommend getting some decent quality pens for your bullet journal. I started off kind of buying pens from, I'm not going to name the shops, corner shops that, you know, stationery shops that have just everyday pens that you would use in your notebooks for your revision maybe. But bullet journal paper is thinner than normal A4. When I use these pens, I've got some transfer through, some leakage, and for me personally, I know a lot of people really don't care about that, and that's great, and actually I envy you. But for me, when I see the seepage through the paper, that really bothers me. So since I've found the good pens to use, it's completely changed my world in terms of bullet journaling, because that means now that I have the confidence to use the pens and not feel like I can just sort of like tickle the paper with my pens. I can use them as pens should be used. I can use them in a rush without thinking it's going to bleed through. I can push as hard as I like and pretty much and know they're not going to bleed through. And it also means that I can use more colour, because I found myself before being reluctant to use colour to shade in or colour things in, because I thought, if I use this felt tip pen in my bullet journal, it's going to go right through. Whereas now I've got some really, really great pens that I'll link down below, zebra pens, and they are amazing for colouring in. And they look like highlighters, but they're so lightweight that they don't transfer through unless you really go over and over and over it, of course. If you're just starting your bullet journal, you're probably thinking, I don't really want to, I've just spent however much it is for a bullet journal. I don't really want to be putting more money in to be buying these pens. Trust me, if you're like me and you want your bullet journal to look reasonably nice, you're just going to end up buying some nice pens months down the line. So don't waste your money on the rubbish pens to start off with. Just go straight in and buy yourself a plain black pen that I'll link down below, and a few colours if you want to make your bullet journal colourful, and see how you go, and then you can build your collection as you go. You don't have to buy it all at once, but it's definitely an investment worth making, in my opinion. Just in case you don't know what kind of pens to go for, if you do want to take that tip on board, I'll link all the pens that I currently use down below, and that will include black pens and also colourful highlighters, and then I've also got a white pen that I use in the background and right over the top, but I'm not sure I recommend that one. It's very like clumpy and it's Tipp-Ex, but I'll link it for you anyway, but do just keep that in mind. That one doesn't come highly recommended, but the rest do. All the colours and the black pen, they get an A-star from me. My 5th tip is to just get started. It might seem like the most obvious tip that I could possibly give you, but I'll put money on it that if you're anything like me, it's the tip that you need to hear the most. Whether you're starting in pen or pencil, just start now. Don't waste your time comparing your artistic ability or your designs or your ideas of what your bullet journal should or shouldn't look like, or comparing yourself on Pinterest. Just start now and see how it goes. Make your own mistakes at the end of the day. I'm not the bullet journal queen, and nor do I profess to be. I've made my own mistakes and I've learnt from them, and I'm now on my 2nd bullet journal, and it's a bullet journal to be proud of. I've made so many mistakes in my last book, and I've kept it kind of for the memories, and obviously I am proud of it in its own little way, and I've covered up my mistakes as best I could. but I'm still proud of it because it shows such a journey. A bullet journal is yours and yours only, so make it your own, and if you make mistakes along the way, just cover them up with some stickers and glitter. I hope you enjoyed this video and you can take away at least one tip that will help you get started on your bullet journal. If you have any more questions for me that I haven't covered in this video, please feel free to comment down below and I'll do my best to answer as many of your questions as possible. I've left links down below also to all my social media channels, so feel free to connect with me there. I'm quite an open person, so feel free to start a chat with me and we can talk all things bullet journal. If you're new to my channel, nice to meet you. Make sure to click subscribe. I do quite a lot of bullet journal videos, but I also do some lifestyle, some beauty, some fashion, kind of a mix mash of whatever I fancy really. So feel free to join and see more of my videos. Don't forget to give this video a massive thumbs up if you liked it, and as I said before, feel free to leave any comments below on this video or any questions that you might have about bullet journaling. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!